All right, welcome everyone to the fucking number one unfiltered PPC Unfiltered podcast.
Blurted out podcast.
Right away. Sorry, John. This is the best podcast because we do this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. We are account managers, consultants. We manage people and teams that do this stuff. We consult. Michael does not as much consulting because he doesn't like dealing with all the crazy people that are out there, and that's okay. I'll take it. I enjoy the challenge, and I don't have a staff to manage, so it's easier for me also. Michael's somewhere in the world. I think he's in Australia. He's got a guitar. He's ready to play it. Michael, do you have a tune that you want to play for us really quick? How's it going?
I will sing Piano Man by Billy Joel, but the guitar rendition. I'm joking.
Let's go.
No, there's no song going to be that.
Acoustics.
But there's also a plant here. You didn't acknowledge this beautiful,
Yeah.
whatever
That's
plant
excellent.
it was. So
How many layers of dust are on that plant is what we need to know. That's what the viewers are
on the
tuning in for.
plant, mate, it's new, so there's not many layers yet. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
All right.
I'm excited for another week, mate. We've got two good conversations that we're going to have today. One I'm aware of because we just spoke about it. Then the other one that you're about to start, I have no awareness of. So once again, guys, you'll be able to see any level of competency that I have or do not have based on my responses. There's no chat GPT here. There's no pre-framing.
Oh, Michael, that is perfect. Yeah, we don't have any plugged-in AI. It's doing all the work for us, ladies and gentlemen. This is off the dome. A little bit of preparation. Make sure it's good quality for you guys. But actually, funny enough, Michael, this is mostly going to be a Q&A for the lead generation specialist that is Michael Nadalin. I'm going to be hitting you with a very lead gen oriented question.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
But it's more, once again, guys, it's a conversation because we're going to be pitching and catching. We're pitching and catching.
Oh, no. We're going to be tossing salads. We're going to be pitching and catching. We're doing all It's a partnership. It's a partnership. A couple of years in, we can say these things. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right, Michael. So my big topic for today is going to be around, I was going to say it was just going to be around demand gen campaigns and using those for lead generation as well as e-commerce, whether that's something you use, how you like to do it without giving away your secret sauce. You know, what are your sort of best practices for using it for a lead generation base or just in general? And if we want, we can expand that to say any kind of outbound cold audience, marketing through Google Ads. If we want to expand beyond the bottom of funnel search, we get into that more challenging scope of how do we grow new customer acquisition beyond what we're doing now with bottom of funnel. So I'll just let you take it away from there. Any initial thoughts?
All right. Well, there's a big presupposition and assumption that I use these things, and I'll be honest, we don't use them.
Okay, so no demand gen at all.
No, we did for a bit, and the results were just not good. And the nature of a lot of lead generation, it can really range. Once again, lead generation could be like your local electrician to, trying to generate leads for things that cost millions of dollars, like software architecture or machinery, like anything like that. So there is a significant wide range of what lead generation can be considered as. Now, on the fundamental level, Google Ads is primarily, like search is a search network. So people are proactively looking for it. So we know that can always have a tick. To the extent that you can actually get the type of traffic you want or people are proactively searching, that's up to the market, not up to us. Now, on the other side with the demand gen, the PMAXs, they have the ability to start capturing market intent and interest. Now, we run quite a lot of lead generation campaigns, and we do not run those any of those campaign types. And the reason why, it's not because I'm just like, we're lazy. It's purely that we've run pilot studies on it and have seen inconclusive data that it's as superior as search and as superior as Facebook ads. So whilst you've asked me a specific question to try and get an outcome, like a honest result, an answer, the honest answer is we don't use it. We'd be doing a lot of our cold acquisition traffic through Facebook and Meta, and then we can actually do a lot of direct lead generation from there as well. So I don't have the strategies, man.
Why do you think that Facebook does a better, let's say Meta does a better job with that type of targeting, that type of advertising, than what Google can do.
Yeah, interesting. Once again, these are just like like these are just theories, but I think Facebook has had a significantly longer runway of doing matching their advertising channel to human behavior and like psychological biases towards
Mm-hmm.
what people engage with, websites they've been to, because people would have their back in the day they'd have like our page on Facebook, which is
Mm-hmm.
essentially a tracking pixel, and they had more enriched data around user behavior, while Google's data was more enriched around user intent, like
Mm-hmm.
in terms of just searching. And whilst for years Google has, most websites in the world had Google Analytics on it, people using Gmail, they using Chrome-based browsers. For some reason, Google has just not been able to, I'd even say, hit 5% of the strength of Facebook or Meta's display or like, cold based activity. Billions of dollars are spent on, like, we all know that Google is the highest, more money spent on Google than Facebook, but that's Google search and YouTube as well. It's not really on the display network. Facebook is purely their quote unquote display network. Yes, they've got another lot of placements, but it's just the placements on the feeds, on the reels, on Instagram and on Facebook as well. So the reason why I think it's better, I just think that the softwares or behind them have been, the architecture has been created for a different type of user action, and then they've measured the behavior differently, and then they've
Mm-hmm.
measured like maybe the human biases, because Facebook and Instagram really can like go pierce deep into the human psyche of like unconscious
Right.
biases. Like you
Yep.
can see some really whack stuff there, and you're like, how did they even know that about me? And it's not this whole
Right.
retargeting thing, it's just like the pick up patterns, but then you apply that to advertising as well. So I don't know the technology behind it. I don't even think the engineers do at this point now. But it's just more about what delivers the outcome for when you've got a client, especially, and you, like you mentioned, Corey, a lot of this, I know when you're asking about it, it's about like, you've got a client, the capping out on search, how do we expand it further on Google?
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, if like if it was me, I'd go, how can we port that over to Meta? It's that budget and see if there's an exploration opportunity there. In terms of Google, I still lack the confidence and certainty that their additional placements are a superior advertising placement. They may be good, but not superior.
Let me ask you this real quick. If the core customer demographic for business has been tried and tested, and it just really seems to be that their core demographic of buyers is not really found through meta advertising, then what?
Dude, it hasn't happened yet. That's what's crazy. Like, this is like B2B, like long sales cycle B2B. It's there. That's a thing. That's why I'm so shocked by it, because once again, this podcast here is primarily about the PPC around Google ads. But the reality is PPC does encompass these other channels as well. I'm spending, for our lead generation clients, I reckon I'm spending more on Meta ads than I'm on Google ads now. And I have been for a long time. And I haven't really said that because like people see me as the Google ads person, so that identity is there. So the question was, what happens when it doesn't work? Dude, it hasn't, not yet. That's the thing.
Well, let me put it a different way. What if you present that to the client, say, look, I really don't have confidence in using Google Ads or Microsoft Ads for that type of brand awareness. I think we should go to Meta, and the client won't budge on that. They feel they've tested it. They don't want to do Meta for that type of thing. They want to stick on Google. Where would you go with that conversation?
Well, are you asking where would Michael Nadalin go with this, or where
Yes,
would I
yes, yes.
advise
You,
someone
the
else to go?
expert. You, the
Okay.
expert. What would you do?
I've had two of these conversations in the last week. Literally, people going, "Hey,
Perfect.
we've got this Google Ads account. It's not working. This and this. Can you rebuild and refix?" And these are people I know. So like they're friends. They're working for enterprise companies, and they've come to me, and I'm like, "Dude, you got to run Meta ads." It's like, what? It's like, and I was like, I went through the whole process. I showed them case studies after case studies of live active clients right now. their landing pages, their lead dashboards, the data with it, and they're like, whoa, man. So I think if it was like, when this does come to me, I just educate people. And what I've noticed is it's got to be a collaborative approach when people are doing this. It's got to seem like it's a collaborative approach, but I have the obligation to tell them how it is, because if I let them have their wiggle room, it will go back to the strategy that they think they want rather than strategy that's actually going to get them the results they want. And my goal is to get them the results they want. And the amount of times I've had to have this conversation with people, they're on the fence and then they go, dude, I cannot believe how much this has worked. I'm like, I know. But that's the thing. I know, they don't know. So it's up to me to communicate to them with conviction that this, not that it will work, but it's a highly viable solution. And I usually just pitch it as like, let's just do a pilot study on this. Like, this isn't some long-term thing.
Right.
Let's just do it for 1 or 2 months and see what the data is. I know within 1 week the results will start coming in. So like, I know that. They don't know that, but I know that. So it's easier for me just to be like clear and direct with them. And look, it's taken years to get to this point now, because like, what happens if it doesn't work? It's like, well, what they're suggesting with their own current channels is not working. So trying to like make something that's not working magically start working, unless it's really poorly run. But even still, like, you intuitively know over time the growth capacity of any channel or placement within a ad platform. I think it's just experience, man.
Now, we've talked about the difference in the past about social advertising or paid social versus paid search, right? Google, Microsoft, that kind of thing. And we like to say is the difference between conscious versus unconscious advertising, right?
Yes.
Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it, that is great at, is picked up on so many unconscious, mindless scrolling, doom scrolling signals, and that stuff gets real deep. Whether Google has those same amount of signals or quality of signals is a question. And maybe that's part of one of the reasons they push all of these other new campaign types that are all about expanding, because maybe they know we're way behind on those type of unconscious behavioral signals. We need to get them. The only way we're going to do that is to push this. Now, that's just tinfoil hat thinking, but I just, it leads me to the question, why do you think that Google struggles so much compared to social advertising channels in terms of this type of brand awareness marketing? What do you think they're missing? Do you think it'll ever change? Would you ever advise using it at all?
I actually think it's gotten worse with PMax. I actually think they could have had a chance to really supersede it. I just don't know how they just
Drop the ball.
I think they focused more, and you're probably aware of this, that they focused more on how can we push more placements rather than make the product more superior.
Yeah, the selling point was sort of we can get more conversion signals by being able to watch across all of these different placements, right? And we'll be able to really identify new customer acquisition and conversions for you. But whether or not that was what you actually saw in your account varies quite dramatically.
Yeah, look, the nature of these channels, you've just got to take them for what they're good at and discard the rest. And these new things, it's good to try things new things out, but you've got to set a real clear boundary with it. So rather than just like run it and just kind of mindlessly run it, you go, here is the budget allocation. So there's a financial ceiling, like this is as much we're spending on it. Number two is these would be the benchmarks or outcomes for us to assess if it was successful or not. Not just running it and just going, how did it go? Like having a really clear going, this is, before we run anything, before any data comes in, this is what success would look like if it worked out. And then benchmarking against that. And then also doing it across enough accounts over a certain amount of time. So you're not only just getting the bias of one account, but multiple accounts. So then like obviously the data can smooth out. And over a certain period of time, you'd be able to see. But man, look, I know like for e-commerce, these things are really good, but for lead generation, it's a different beast, because lead generation tends to be when people are in that intent of the moment looking on the Google networks. Facebook, I'm still so surprised, because I think Facebook really does know how to target the right people at the right time, even when they don't have the right search intent. Like, sorry, they don't have a search intent because they're not searching.
Yeah.
I can say this because I've got another business I run. Like, I'm a director and I'm running the ads for it, and we've done like over $200,000 in sales in the last 2 months just from meta ads in a very, very, very niche B2B industry. It's B2B and it's niche. And the leads are coming from Facebook. The conversations, we've had about 40 leads come through, like exceptional quality. Can't run any Google ads for this because people aren't specifically looking for this. I wouldn't be able to run any ads on the display network. Like I would, like it's just not there. Like with Facebook, you can really target the type of people. Now you can do that on LinkedIn, and I'm running ads on LinkedIn as well. We've only had about 2 leads from LinkedIn, 20% conversion rate, but like we've got a small budget there. It's more that there's something with the Facebook and Meta network that allows you to, if you want to be doing more cold or warm, like prospective traffic, that's the place to go. It's just magical. And this is a dude who's been doing Google Ads for like 10 years, who was like a Google Ads advocate. And now I'm just an advocate of what makes money.
Yeah, of course.
So
That's what you're getting paid to do, is to make the money,
yeah.
not to know what buttons to push, right?
And now I'm my own client. That's the thing. It's like, these aren't like, oh, because it's Google, like let me just pump out like new things because like it'll make me look good in front of the client. It's because I need to make money for clients. I need to make money for myself. I need to make money for my businesses. I'm doing exactly what I do for clients for myself now, and vice versa. And that's why there's only an upward spiral, because I'm not getting caught in like new trends or new things. I'm like, what's the probability this is going to work? What's the likelihood? What would be the data set to suggest that this is successful? What's the benchmark? And then more importantly, what's the quality of the lead as well? Beyond just like the quantity and the cost per lead and all that, what's the quality of the lead? Because we've done quite a bit of lead generation with Performance Max, and the numbers look good, but either the numbers look good because it's extracting brand search or they're bot leads. So that's a real challenge.
You know what I find is it's really interesting. It seems like a real conundrum here, if I could use that term, because for lead generation based businesses, you are usually in a slow sales cycle, and the amount of leads that you're getting, especially that are quality or sometimes just in general, depending how niche the marketplace is, can be very low, which smart bidding has issues with. As we know, the less data points any machine learning algorithm is going to struggle. Yet they understand that because it's a slow sales cycle, the more informed the customer can be prior to a click that costs a lot of money, like a bottom of funnel search based click. The more informed they are, the more qualified they are, the less work the salespeople have to do, and maybe there isn't as much of a retention problem, right? So you're battling with this issue as that type of business where you say the lead volume is low, the marketplace is really competitive. There's not a ton of customers in the universe of customers that are available to us, and we're always worried about quality because we only have such a big sales team, right? So you think naturally and inherently, well, let's do these types of campaigns that create branding awareness, that do visual storytelling, that are going to nurture the pipeline. It all sounds like that is the smart move, but yet these types of campaigns, they are really geared towards a smart bidding based approach, or based on automated targeting and things like this. And they also take a ton of time to ramp up. And there's less control with these as well, right? Like obviously you do have some exclusions and targeting settings that you can change. You can use different bidding strategies. You can use maximize clicks, for example, but you don't get the manual bidding unless we're talking about like a display campaign or something. But isn't that interesting? Because I can see this happening as a trap over and over for low spend, low volume lead generation based companies. That they feel like this is the right move, but in a lot of cases it might be they need to really get their expectations right, that this is a long, arduous, this is going to be a painful process of spending a lot of money to learn. And I don't often find, you tell me if you've experienced differently, these companies don't really have the bandwidth or the profitability to take 3 to 6 months for these things to start figuring things out, or might not even work out at all.
Dude, couldn't agree more. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just thinking about a business owner, and you said like with a small budget, and let's just preface it with that because
Yep.
all businesses are at different stages, but it really depends on the budget allocation. You could have a multi-billion-dollar company that's like our budget's $5,000 a month, and you
Yeah,
could
I
have
love that.
companies that are doing $500,000 and they're like their budget's $10,000 a month. So the
Yeah.
budget also gives the flexibility towards the diversity. And look, if you've got $100,000 budget and you can only cap out at $20,000 on search, you've got $80,000 for exploration. So you want to. This would be me if, and this is me. You run a small business, it's a niche market, or you're doing lead generation. I would, and this is just personally now, I would start off with meta ads, but you've got to send it to a landing page. Landing page because you can clearly define the message, have a call to action, have a high conversion rate. So just knowing that instead of sending it to a website where the conversion rate could be 1 to 2%, you send it to a landing page where your conversion rate could be 5 to 15%. So already you're arbitraging the lead possibility and probability there by like, 3 to 10 times up to. Number two, if the budget was small, I would actually be starting off with those like a very simple meta campaign, doing some prospecting audiences, so like cold audiences, also setting up like a retargeting audience. So people who have come to your website, either your actual website or the landing page, you're retargeting them on the Facebook or Instagram because when they're in that network. Once that's done, because you'll start getting leads there, move over to Google Ads. Now, the reason why I keep getting more and more when new clients come to us and I'm like, we should start off with Meta rather than Google's because Google's expensive, dude. Like,
Yeah.
if you've got a client who like a small business who's like budgets, like it could be 1,000, 2,000. Like, people aren't just rolling in it like all of our big clients. Is they might only have $2,000, and that's still a lot of money. But if your cost per click's $5, you're really not going to be getting that many clicks to turn into a conversions, then turn into sales. And like once again, if you got $5 cost per click, how many clicks is that? I can't even do my quick maths right now. $2,000 divided by 5. It's like 400 clicks.
I'm gonna let you struggle through it.
There you go. So and then you got it's 400, isn't it? I'm like really like in like let's just say your conversion. What was that?
I said it's early. Don't worry about it.
But then as you kind of move down, going well, if my conversion rate's 1 to 2%, you're only getting like a certain amount of leads, and then after you only get a certain amount of leads, how many are turning into sales? So that $2,000 plus all the management costs and other things could not actually elicit a sale out of it. And then if you need a faster, like a sales cycle with a bit of more velocity around lead velocity or sales velocity, it's just not going to happen. So that's why I'm thinking like always do something on the landing page or website that increases the conversion rate. So no matter what channel you go for, you can start getting that traffic in. Facebook ads like prospecting with retargeting, Google Ads search, that's enough to start off with. Once that's happened, you just set up your like a audience and then on Google and just have like a YouTube retargeting audience targeting the right locations, but people have been to the website again. If you've done that, that's like a pretty like bulletproof strategy around lead generation.
Assuming you have the assets to support that, right?
Yeah, but to be fair, if you want to have success in advertising, you do need the assets, especially on Facebook, because if you use still or static images on Facebook, your click-through rate, which is probably the most important number on Facebook, like at least forward indicator number, should be between like 0.8 to 1.2%. That's good. With a video, the click-through rate is about up to 3%. So you're already arbitraging again. So you should be using video creative as a default on Meta. And now for Google, naturally you put it over to YouTube. But these are the things, it's like, this is the price you need to pay for advertising. You just can't be a single channel person and you can't just be like, oh, we're not going to use assets. Like I run client advertising campaigns, spending only a few $1,000s a month, getting hundreds of leads, competing against really big competitors who I know we're significantly beating because I look at their websites, their ads, and I'm like, they could be spending like literally 5 to 10 times as much as us. And I can guarantee we're getting better results just because we've fine-tuned the landing page they go to and the ad creative they use and just the messaging and just how we've segmented the allocation of budget allocation towards different channels and different placements as well.
Okay.
But the thing is, I've been doing this for 10 years, man. So like, I know what to do. Like what I shared just then, if anyone did that, they could make a lot of money. The problem is, beyond that strategy is the actual intricacies of doing it correctly. You know, the right settings, the right targeting, the right audiences, the right keywords. So whilst I can give that all away, and that's exactly what we do, the intricacies of it make the difference.
So maybe that's a good transition to wrap this up is what, let's say not demand gen specific, not Facebook specific, but from an outbound cold targeting type of advertising and PPC approach, what are some of the most important keys to doing that correctly so that your ROI is not crap? Because I know that's a constant struggle when you start branching out. What would you see are some of the things on top of your head that are the biggest keys to success for that?
Do branding advertising like you're doing lead generation. Like just treat it like the channel is a lead generation channel, not a brand awareness channel. Because that's what meta ads essentially is. It is brand awareness because people are getting the visual element. And when you structure it like a lead generation campaign, you'll start getting leads. So like put the ads in the channel that are more brand awareness, but structure it to be lead generation. So use lead generation type language, lead generation type creative assets, lead generation types of call to actions. And whilst you're naturally in the background building up brand awareness, because you're actually opening the opportunity and floodgates of lead generation. That's why I say to a lot of these big businesses, like, oh, but you know, we want to do brand awareness. I'm like, people seeing your ads is brand awareness. Like,
what do you
don't you get that? People just seeing it. But by doing it in a lead generation structure, you allow yourself the opportunity to turn them into leads, which crazily enough happens. But I can say, the thing is, I can say that with conviction because I've seen it and do it so many times that it's just like, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't it work? But they don't know that. People come in with their lack of education and assumptions based on nothing and like just a very small sample size of their own small experience that it's really hard for them to consider that other platforms and channels done differently can have a significant result. So that's why like things like, once again with demand gen, I'm like, dude, if you could tell me like this works with conviction with the lead generation, I'm like, yeah, sweet, I'll try it out. But no one's shown me those results or like with these prospects and clients, I show them other clients. So it's like the believability factor is really there. With people saying, oh, you should try these things on Google, I'm like, cool, super open to it. Show me your data, show me your results, show me some of the case studies. No one has anything. That's the thing. So it's all just like, for me, at least for now, based on my limited experience, no one's presented compelling data that is more superior than either Google search or Facebook prospecting. That's why it's like always open-minded, just need to see the data because I've tried it out, didn't work. Doesn't mean that I'm like this, some sort of god of advertising. If it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for anyone. But I need to see if people are trying to sell this idea to me, show me the data because I'm not just going to blindly believe someone who's just hyping it up.
Quick thoughts or judgment on B2B LinkedIn ads for B2B?
Interesting. And thank you, by the way, I haven't even asked you any questions, man. Like you're asking me all the questions.
I told you it's a Q&A for Michael, the lead gen specialist.
LinkedIn does work if you do it properly. And up until about 6 months ago, I was like, nah, it didn't work. But it was because in the past, I've been doing LinkedIn at agencies with certain clients that probably weren't viable. And I was doing it because I had to, not because I got the choice to or thought it personally was viable. I'm running LinkedIn ads now for myself, for my own company. It's working. You've got to, it's the same as Facebook. You've got to have the right messaging, the right ad creative, video creative, and you've got to be targeting the right audience. And you've just got to go. It's actually not, man. Like,
sometimes that sticker shock can be what they're used to display and they're in Facebook. They can go LinkedIn and go, oh shit, this is 3 times higher than what we're used to in a lot of cases.
But you can set a cost per click bid limit, which I have, and comparing it to Facebook, it's actually a lower cost per click because Facebook, I don't get to bid on it. And with the nature of Facebook over time, anytime you're going after B2B audiences in Facebook, the CPM or the cost per 1,000 impressions is really high. Like most industries, it could be between like $10 to $40 per 100 impressions. In the B2B space, it's like 50 to 100. Like it just goes to the next level because you've got all these businesses with heaps of money, just like, you know, everyone's trying to like one up in terms of advertising. So For LinkedIn, I'm paying probably about $4.50 to $5.50 a click, whilst on Facebook, I'm paying about $9 a click. But at the
Probably
end of the day, it doesn't
depends
matter about the cost.
very
It matters
much
about
on,
how much money it makes you. And it's made us over
of course.
$200,000 in the last 2 months. So
Yeah.
that's why ROI reporting at the end of the day is so important, because it's just basic cause and effect. How much did we spend on the channel? How much can we attribute back to the channel, rather than, there's a lot of forward indicators, but you've always just got to look at that last number. So LinkedIn, depending on the business, depending on the landing page, depending on the creative, it'll work. It's not the channel,
Mm-hmm.
it's the specialist running it and the creative assets available, the direct response copy used, and the landing page that's been created.
And the salesperson closing that
Oh
stuff.
man, of course. That's the most important thing, mate.
Is that the meta skill? It's the thing we don't
It is,
handle.
man. It is.
Yeah.
So
You can bring the
anyway, I
right
just
people.
spoke about stuff for like 40 minutes, mate. What are your thoughts
You
on
did.
any of those things on display, demand gen for Google, other
Yeah.
platforms?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say the sort of things I wrote down, some of the main pillars I think to finding success there. I think one of the biggest ones that is not mentioned enough, because I think the skill set is not there, and a lot of people that do what we do, is being able to measure incrementality, right? So if you are just looking purely at in-platform data and you're saying how many impressions, what's our click-through rate, what are our CPMs, what's our CPCs, what's our conversion rate, etc., and you're just looking at those in-platform metrics, you're judging a demand gen campaign that you launched that's for cold audiences, and you're just saying, hey, it's been 2 weeks and we've spent, I don't know,
Yeah.
$2,000. We're not getting anything. And it's like, if you're just looking at it purely in that lens, it's doomed to fail probably 9 out of 10 times, if not 99 out of 100 times.
Mm.
And that's because you really need to know how to, if you can, and if you have the capabilities, you need to be measuring incrementality. You need to be, you need to obviously have a funnel mindset. You can't just say, we just want conversions, like just purchases, for example, right? Or just close deals, because that's
Yeah.
going to take a long time to figure that out. So some of the keys, it's going to be a longer timeline than you're used to. If you are just used to doing bottom of funnel search, let's call it long tail search, or just commercial intent search, keyword based targeting, you're used to just doing display remarketing, maybe some branded search as well as some meta ads. A lot of the things that are going to apply, and this might be controversial, but it's a lot of the things that are going to apply from a general marketing principle standpoint with social advertising is going to also apply here on the
Yeah.
Google side. The targeting might not be as great as what you find on the social advertising side, but to a degree, this is sort of social, right? It's very, very similar. This is imagery based advertising. We are
Yeah.
creating interest in something. It's going to be slower. Your expectations need to be a lot wider and less conservative than they
Yeah.
were with your search advertising. So I think that is a big part of it. Timeline and expectations really need to be a lot more realistic than
Yeah.
what you might have gotten used to. Any initial
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
No, I agree, man. No, I agree. And the incrementality is really important. That's a really important number and metric for you, that because you're so smart, you can measure. But most people can't. And that's the
Yeah,
thing, is then Google will say things like, oh, the incrementality or these growth things, and then you can't measure it. And once again, if your
right.
budget is finite, it's just challenging. Now,
Yep.
the other simple thing, this is just me with my little common sense brain. I'm like, well, if this stuff was so good, why aren't there agencies about it? Like, there's Google Ads agencies for search, there's YouTube ads agencies, there's Facebook ads agencies. Why aren't there demand gen agencies? Just because,
Demand gen.
things.
Yeah.
So, but I agree. Like, it's you do need to measure it over time, but you've got to have the
Mhm.
actual ability to measure it. Now,
Yeah.
what percentage of people do?
One,
Yeah,
in my
one, you.
opinion, one
And that's
percent.
you.
One person.
Yes. Not even 1%, one, just like a binary number. N
Yeah.
equals one. And
Well, I'll be honest. If outside of like in platform Google experiments, quote unquote, what they call them, that's going to be limited at a certain scope. if you've never written any code in your life and you don't even know what an IDE is, you probably aren't doing a good job measuring incrementality. So I'll just start there to paint the context. You're probably not measuring it correctly. Just judging a time versus another time and saying whether it's successful, and you're probably going to say it's terrible, and that makes sense. And you probably think you're right on that, but there are other ways to measure this that are a lot more complicated, but it does require a good amount of data. So in terms of going back to expectations, expect to spend a lot to figure this out. And now a lot is very vague on purpose because everybody's going to be different. And this is true of Meta as well, right? I mean, sometimes it's going to take a week or two to get things going. Sometimes it's going to take a lot longer because you got to figure out where is the audience, especially when you're starting a brand new campaign or a brand new demographic you're trying to go after. It's not always going to hit right away. You gotta, it's an iterative process, like all of marketing. So just keep that in mind. Never forget that. The other things I was going to mention really fast to wrap this up, because I think we've gone on long enough, is really just, the importance of quality assets, making sure, just like anything else, you are on top of excluding things. Make sure you're not just letting Google or Meta go wild with make sure you control the targeting as much as you can. Now, I'm not saying you want to have this tiny audience, because that's also not going to work. I like to start broad and refine it with data signals.
Yeah.
But don't just let it stay broad forever. That, unless you've got to spend for that and the risk tolerance for that, which most companies don't actually have what it takes to do that. I would find a nice balance between the two, and that just takes some research and some data analysis to figure out these are our core audiences we should be going after. Now, if you have absolutely no data, that's a tough one. I would say you're going to have to start broad, because you got to figure out what works, but go into it knowing it's going to take some money. And if you don't have that realistic expectation, it's doomed to fail anyway, because you're going to give up before it starts gaining any level of success.
And also with the definition of broad, it's based on the experience of the person. So Cory and my version of broad would be very more specific, because it's broad based on we've got experience. So we're like A, B, C, and D. Like everyone else might be like A to Z, and there's like 26 things to do. Our version of broad is like these 4 things that we know work really well, and it depends which one of those 4 works. So experience, once again, does come into play here, where you need to leverage past experience with the specialist, the company, or yourself, and start from the broad experience, rather than just broad in general. Because most people, when they hear broad, Cory, will be like, all assets, all placements, all this, all that. It's like, no. Let's bring it back to like the fundamentals of like good structure and broadness within a good structure, not like broadness just with chaos involved.
Right. Yes. That's a very good point.
Because most people, mate, they ain't like us, bro. They ain't like us.
We're super special. That's why we have the podcast. We're trying to give you guys some of this special.
Yeah, guys, if you were special, you'd have a podcast.
Right. All right. Last thing I'll say, wrap this up, is also, I talked about incrementality. The other thing you need to be measuring, probably out beyond the in-platform measurements, is attribution. We talk about this ad nauseum because it's so important. And really, I think right now we moved from the topic. There was a generation of PPC advertising where it was like, mobile. It was like, it's the time for mobile dominance and whatever. And, we had this sort of wearables moment, and now kind of blended with mobile, and that faded. Yeah. And then we went into performance max, and that was almost like it's a new generational shift somehow.
Yes.
But I would say now we're more in the age of attribution and solving for that. Trying to figure out that age-old question is, where should we spend more money, right? What's working, what's not actually working? Can we trust this platform's measurement? Probably not. You need to also have a deeper understanding of attribution beyond MTA, multi-touch attribution, right? You need to be able to measure those things. And if you don't, you're going to struggle to quantify whether a channel is working, whether a campaign is working, and how it's actually influencing the entire funnel and all of your marketing placements across channels. So anyway, wanted to make sure we were comprehensive in covering that. You got to have a lot of time, big timeline, wide expectations. It's so important if you're going to do this kind of thing. If you're going to venture into this type of marketing, brand awareness, cold audiences, you got to find the right person to work with. Most people will claim they can do this well, like everybody. Oh, I can do YouTube. I'll be the one that can do YouTube outbound cold targeting for you. They're all going to say that.
Yeah.
Just hire me or Michael, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, come on. Just don't be silly here. Come on, guys. Use your
Don't
brains.
waste your money. All right. Michael, anything else you want to add?
No, man. Let's jump into our next quick segment now.
Let's go.
Okay, so over time, I think I've reflected a lot on what makes a successful specialist or even agency owner, what helps someone get like extraordinary results for clients. And I think there's three skills. Number one, there's the actual skill of the work itself, the platform skill being Google, Meta, whatever it is. Number two is data, like reporting, actually able to understand data and do the reporting for it and all the other crazy weird stuff that Cory and I do. The third one, which isn't spoken about because it is a skill, but it's not like a technical skill where there's a checklist, is communication. And communication is the core skill because it will help you clarify things. It will help you be more specific with clients. It will help you set expectations. It will help you manage expectations. It will help you say no to ideas that are stupid. It will help you convince clients and stakeholders to take action on things that are important. And obviously, this could be a conversation we have for hours. But just a really quick conversation, just to plant that seed, is look. The nature of the advertising industry is it's really based on a lot of introverted people, and introverted people, tend to be more analytical and also tend to just like communication may not be the superior skill over the advertising skill as well. And Cory and I were just chatting before this call just about, it's just some people, you're just born with it, or can you learn it, or like, what is it? Should you learn it? Yeah, I just think, I think some people are just born with it. The people born with it don't end up doing this work. That's the thing, because they're just out in the world doing, extroverted stuff. People like me, I can jump into being extremely data-driven, but then extremely like communicative, and like I can jump in between. And I think that's why I've been able to have quite a bit of success, because I've been able to communicate through video, through trainings, through leading team members and stuff like that. But I think the big gap in our industry is communication, because not that people aren't good at their work, it's just they don't know how to communicate with conviction of the quality of the work, what needs to be done. What are your thoughts, Cory?
I was just thinking ROI. And what I mean is at scale, if you want to do this yourself, you want to start an agency with or without employees, so freelancer versus an agency owner, at a certain point, you're going to have a lot of clients and or a lot of employees. Hopefully you have both if you have a lot of employees. Yes. And that is absolutely going to shift a lot of your skill focus around communication. Otherwise, you got a horrible agency. You got someone, you become the person that your employees can't really trust. They don't really think you know what you're doing. I tend to find those agencies become those sales factory agencies. They're just going through clients. They don't care what your expectations are, what your spend's going to be, what your aspirations are as a business. They don't really care. They just want to get the deal done, get you locked in a contract. Yeah, and then apply some terrible template they stole from a course one time 10 years ago. That's saying to do modified broad match or something. It's I think you're going to get a lot of that. So just know that at a certain point, if you do not have those communication skills, it doesn't have to be you got to be some expert communicator. You got to go take a bunch of business courses. Just if there's no joy that you get at all with communicating with people, you're going to have struggles when you get a certain amount of clients and or employees to be successful. And you're really going to hate what you're doing. And just think about that long term, whether that's something you want to get into. It's a core skill. You have to have it. Yeah,
it's a life skill. And look, it's all good. Most clients, most of the time, if you're clear with them up front, communication skill, they're fine. But it's what happens when there's a high stakes situation. You could have 20 clients and one of them starts like freaking out about something. Just because that's 5% of your portfolio, it will probably take up about 80% of your attention. And if you do not know how to mitigate that through communication, you can have all the SOPs and all the contracts and stuff. If you cannot communicate clearly, directly, and specifically to people and help them reassess where they're at, because most of the issues with advertising aren't the results. It's the people's perception about results. timelines, the quality, what scope of work. Oh, I thought you were doing this as well. All these things. Communication, it's such a simple word, but deeply mastered will make your life significantly easier. You won't need to speak to clients as much because instead of them emailing you 3 times a week, it's 1 call a month because you've communicated so effectively that there's just an unconscious trust they have with you, a deep relationship that's been built. So all these ways that they're trying to communicate with you, it's because like they're reacting to things internally, but they don't have that peace of mind. Better communication means that they'll actually communicate with you less and you'll get better results because instead of going, they're like, oh, let's do these 10 things. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to appease the client. You're like, they're wonderful ideas. Let's document them down and park them. But I reckon for now, we just focus on this one initiative for the next 2 months. And the reason why is A, B, C, and D. And from other clients, we've noticed it's worked really well. And we think it'd work really well for you. They're going to go, yes. And that's an example of me in literally 10 seconds. I do that all the time. Clients kind of come with all their crazy ideas. And if you don't know how to communicate and you go no to that, you seem like you're not collaborative. You seem like you're not a team player. And even worse, what happens if you say yes and you've got to do those 10 things that don't work? So all of these skills allow you to actually get more time back, create a deeper relationship, and actually do just do more work that actually works and less of stuff that doesn't work. And just get better outcomes.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I was laughing a little bit because you were like say, if you get great communication, you just get it down to once a month. And I was just going to jump in and say, unless they're crazy clients, which sometimes no matter how great of a communicator you are, you're just going to get that client that just, oh man, they think you're an employee basically, and they want to talk to you.
I can pull that back. I've got the gift of the gab. I know how to do it. I know how to do it. Trust me, I know how to do it. But the thing is, do I? Because the thing is, I unconsciously filter people like that out. As soon as
I was just going to say, you don't work with those people, right? From the get-go.
Especially now. And you know what the thing is? I'll even tell them that's why I'm not going to work with them. Like when people are like, oh, so why can't you work with us? I'm like, you seem like you're a lot to work with. Like you seem like you're going to be very involved. And they're like, no, what? No. And I'm like, no, you will be. And it's fine. But you deserve to work with someone who, will tolerate that. That's not me. That's not my company. The type of clients we work with are A, B, C, and D. And they're like, no. Like I'm this. I'm like, bro, I guess it's okay. Like I'm not judging you. I'm just saying we don't provide that type of service. So then, but that's even a communication skill as well. But that also comes from a lack of desperation. So many people want to get on clients just so they can get the money through to keep their business surviving. I get that. You need to pay the dues at the start of the journey. But when that time happens, when you're making enough money, you've got to say no to those deals. And even if you do let some of them slip through, because you're like, I can sense that I could probably sway them. You've got to be real direct with your communication. This is how we work. This is our scope of work. This is what we do it. As soon as they come out of line with that,
contract.
You bring back the there's setting expectations, which everyone's like, set expectations. The thing I don't see people do is managing expectations because clients will slip, man. They will slip back into their ways. And you've got to really just go, no. This is how we operate. This is how we operate. This is how we operate to the point where they're like, okay, cool. I get it. This person's actually a person of conviction and sticks to how they operate. Because most people in business are just used to asking people for stuff and getting it, not maliciously. They're just like, oh, this person does my ads. Maybe they can give me some insights on my whole website and my SEO and my Facebook just because like they're the digital person. Yeah. So it's
and really it can be hard, Michael, to tell, right? In the beginning, you're like, what if you're on the fence, right? They seem like they're going to be in the consulting world, what we call a high touch client. And like, maybe it's not a good fit, but then you're like, well, can they get better? Is this something that just takes a little bit of education? How would you advise on knowing the difference?
Ask them. We did that checklist a few weeks ago where the drop down is, do we think they're going to be high touch or low touch? You go, like, this is how we operate. We probably do 4 emails a month most, just kind of just touch points. Like, how often would you want communication? Like, oh no, multiple times. Like, we don't do that. Mm-hmm. You just I know it sounds so dumb and so simple, but it's just ask. There's no the craziest way to do telepathy is by using words, by asking. It's just like it's so
Yeah.
crazy all the things people do to try to avoid just to like ask the direct question. And look, it does require a bit of courage, but after a while, like you do it a few times, you're like it doesn't matter. Like I just ask people really tough questions because I realize at the end of the day, it actually has nothing to do with me. It's all about them, and it's their problem, their business, their issues. I'm here to help, but I'm not here to like take on the burden of their life. I'm like, if they're emailing me 4 times a week, I'm like, bro, that's a you thing. That's not the business, or that's not the service
Yeah.
problem. That's just you being just like you. So, yeah, at the end of
Well,
the day, man, I think just ask. Just ask, hey, do you feel like you're a high touch client?
but
Why do you find this so funny?
The challenge, Michael, is that you know as well as I do that people think they're better
Lie.
than they are,
They
and they
lie.
lie. They make stuff up. They say, "Oh no, I'm not that type of person," and then you sign them on, and it's like every single day there's 3 emails, and it's
Yeah,
just
but
it
then you
gets out
just
of
go
hand.
to the dude, you just go to them, hey man, you said you weren't going to do this and now you're doing it. I'm not going to be able to get back to these emails. I told you that. I don't have the capacity of that. If I did
Yep.
if I did know this, one, I probably wouldn't have taken on, or two, the scope of work would have been different. The scope of work is outlined to have, X amount of emails, communications per month. Maybe in the first month, a few more, but the
Mm-hmm.
scope of work is based on this. So,
Yep.
like, if this is what you need, number one, I need to assess if we can do it. And then number two is the scope will need to change because this is
Mm-hmm.
not viable.
Yep.
And that's fair because if they've told you some information and you've scoped it out based on that, and they're now that's scope creep immediately. Like I think sometimes people think scope creep is just purely on the service, but part of the service is communication as well. If you go in your line of service, we do these campaigns, and you've got one monthly call and 4 emails a month. And I know it seems like you don't want to say like 4 emails a month, like it's like some credit system, but you're setting the expectation. Maybe if you don't put in the contract, you kind of say it, hey, we operate on maybe a few calls, like a few emails a month. When they're doing a few emails a week, you go, guys, well, okay, I get there's a lot going on at the moment, but how about we just consolidate these things? Send me an email once a month or like once a week and we can get to it
Mm-hmm.
and then we can get into a better routine. But like this capacity at the moment won't be able to do it.
You
People
know, you know
respect that,
who's I was going to say,
except
you know
assholes.
who's really who's really good at this stuff, and it's just how you think outside the box beyond your like, PPC professor would get like all neurotic about like this narrow-minded, how should PPC people do something, but
Yeah.
expand your horizons. Look into how designers communicate with clients because
Mm.
designers, graphic design, whatever, brand designs, they have to have a lot of communication with clients. It's a lot of like, again, an iterative process of what do you think about this? Okay, should we tweak this? They have a ton of resources out there, whether that's on Reddit, whether that's just through blogs or courses, tons of communicating with clients and stakeholders for designers. Very, very, very applicable to what we do here in marketing and reporting. So just a quick tip, if you're looking for more resources, expand beyond just like PPC tips. Look at how designers work with clients and
Yeah.
in communication specifically. You'll find a lot of good golden nuggets in there. One thing is some of them will charge per email. They'll say you get 10 emails a week. If
Yeah.
you go beyond that, we start charging this much per email,
Yep.
no matter how much the text is in there. It might sound harsh, but some clients really take advantage, and they just, again, they treat you like an employee. They're not used to working, or they just are assholes, and they treat you like you're an employee when you're not. You're a
Yeah.
contractor, more often than not. So Michael, we got to wrap up. We're out of time. I just want to wrap up by saying, if you're getting into this industry, you're starting, or if you are a business that wants to work with a marketer and you are looking at finding someone that can do this, look for, and what the skills you want to have specifically in communication is being able to explain what happened, why it happened, and what should be done next. That's really going to
Dude,
be a huge focus of your communication.
bro,
Go
I
ahead.
was having this with my business partner and I'll add one more. So
Mm-hmm.
you've gone what happened, why it happened, what we should do, and why
Yep.
we should do it. So it's what, why, what, why. What
Mm-hmm.
happened? Why did it happen? What do we
Yeah, what
recommend?
should
Why
be
do we
supported
recommend
with
it?
why? Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude,
Mm-hmm.
that's crazy you said that. It's such a simplistic way of communication. And guys, once again, listen to this. Most issues with communication come from a lack of trust and from the lack of relationship. If you're really clear on what happened and why it happened, people go, Okay, he knows what's going on. If you give but if you just, it ends there, then what's next? Who does the burden fall on? Take the burden on yourself. Again, we recommend this, but then people go, yeah, but it may not work. Give a why behind it. Once everything has a why behind it, people unconsciously go into belief mode. So if you use the word because or anything like that, it will force people just to go, oh, they know what they're doing. Create less work for yourself, create less headache for yourself. Let's wrap it up there. Cory,
All right.
how do people find you, mate?
Yep, adsbycory.com. On Reddit occasionally, just popping in and answering some questions. Facebook, Snapchat. I'm kidding. I'm not on Snapchat. No, guys, I'm mostly on Ads by Cory, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and Spotify. Yeah,
OnlyFans, Ads by Cory.
You're not supposed to talk about that, Michael.
Yeah. Fans only. And LinkedIn. You know, you guys know where to find me. MarketLead on YouTube. Michael Nadalin on LinkedIn as well. Cory, mate, awesome chat, dude. We'll chat soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
See you guys.